Hey, welcome back to another video. Okay, today the paper that we are reviewing is paper 21 from the May-June 2024. So this is the last few paper that you're still allowed to use your calculator in paper 2. So moving forward, after the syllabus change, there will be no more calculator for paper 2. So if later on, if possible, I will try to avoid using calculator, okay, on certain questions. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we start the video, okay, a shameless plug here. Just to let you guys know that I'm providing private tutoring services. Okay, it's a group class, okay, where I cover math, math, these two subjects mainly. Okay, so if you're interested, feel free to find more information in the link in the description. Fill up the Google form and I will reach out to you and advice on which services suit your situation best. So without further ado, let's get back to the video. All right, so let's have a look at the first question. Okay, this is actually, I would rank the paper this term, this exam session as 22 the toughest, followed by 21. Surprisingly, 23 was the easiest one. Okay, so shouldn't be too challenging. I gone through the question earlier. I browsed through before I review. Okay, so the first one asking us for a parallelogram. So for this case, I will actually calculate the translation from point B to C here. So apparently that is a net positive 4. Okay, and then it went up by 2 steps, making the answer over here as my point D. Okay, so when I combine all of the information up, it would then form this parallelogram here. Okay, a little bit crooked, but you get the idea. Okay, so if you need further information, feel free to pause the video where I highlight the translation earlier. Okay, it is 4 steps towards the right hand side and then 2 steps up, leading us to -3 and 7. So it was traced from here. Okay, so this is your -3 and 7. And when we move on to part 2, Gita has a box of toys. She picks her toys at random, and the probability of picking a wooden toy is 0.6. Work out the probability that she's not picking a wooden toy. So please take note that the total probability is 1. So 1 minus 0.6, you get the results as 0.4. So this 0.4, when we put into this box here, okay, we know that there's 2 additional toys, which is plastic and metal. Both of them has 14, which means that the 0.4 that we have there is equally distributed between the two. So I will have to split it by 2 and making each side 0.2, 0.2. And yeah, so when 14 times 3, you will get 42 toys over here. So for those who's wondering, how do I know it was multiplied by 3? It's because 0.6 can pretty much split into 3 separate 0.2, which add up and becomes 42. Okay, moving on to question 3, complete the table. Okay, they want us to find when it's the 5th term. So to find the answer, basically you have to multiply it by 5. Here the same thing. And yeah, you should be able to get the answer. 60 minus 20. You get 40 here, and then 25 minus 300 is negative 275. Then the next one is asking us for smallest positive number in sequence B. Okay, so sequence B, the results must be more than 0. Okay, this will explain why it was more than positive number here. Okay, the more than 0 is to fulfill the positive numbers restriction. So when I key in square root 300, I will get the results of n being more than 17.3. So I'm assuming it will be 18. So when n equals to 18, you will get 18 squared minus 300. The answer was indeed 24. So there's a common issue here with students is that even though they get the idea of more than 0 to fulfill the positive numbers condition, okay, they often so confident that they would just put in n equals to 18 as the answer. So the question set up a trap for us here, wanting it to be the positive number in sequence B. So the 18 that you secured still needs to be substituted back in order to find the exact results. Moving on to question 4, we have a greatest odd number that is a factor of 140 and 210. So I have to draw out the factor tree for each of them. Apparently 140, I accidentally did something stupid here. 140 can be split into 14 and 10. And if I were to continue, what else can I do? We'll get 7 and 2. And then here is 5 and 2, making the number a 7 times 5 times 2 squared. For 210, I can make it into 21 and 10, splitting the number as 7 and 3. This is 5 and 2. Okay. So I will highlight the things that they share in common. That happens to be a odd number. The 3 and 2, I decided not to include it because 3 doesn't repeat and 2 is an even number. So both of them, if you were to find the factor, it can be interpreted as 35 times 4, and here is actually 35 times 6, making this the greatest odd number between these two given combo. Okay, so that's it for question 4. Moving on to question 5. This, because of us, the privileged bunch can still use calculator, or they're testing you is just key in properly, you should be able to get the answer as 0.6. Same goes to the other one with 192 plus 4 times 16 to the power of 1.25. You will get 1024 as your final answer for this 2 question here. Okay. Wow. So just 2 pages in, I already identified there was 2 tough questions here. The first one is actually 3B itself is quite tough. 14 is quite tough as well if the student's foundation is not strong, and yeah, students will get tested rigorously in just question 3B and 4. So if they panic from this point onwards, the whole paper confirm it's a gone case. Okay, moving on to question 6. Immediately I notice a keyword here, which is a straight line. Okay, this is an indicator that this whole slab here is actually 180 degree. So if I were to split the 180 degree into 6 different parts, it will be worth 30 each. Okay, so this is 30 degree, and then immediately you must know that this is actually considered as a quadrilateral because it has 4 corners. Okay, if it's a 4-sided shape, the total interior angle is actually 360 degree. So to find x, it's actually 360 minus 40 minus 30, and you need to divide it by 2. And then you will get a result of 145. Okay, so with this, you'll be able to find the answer of x as 145. Moving on to question 7, finding the shape of this area. Okay, what am I yapping? It should be finding the area of this shape. Okay, it should be the timing problem because right now it's 11:19 at night after I finish a long day of work. So sorry for that. I will try to keep myself awake till I complete this question here. Okay, it's a right angle triangle that makes the area half times 12.8 times 12.8. Okay, and then you have a semicircle that the formula goes by half pi r squared. The r squared is a little bit special. It's actually half of our 12.8. So with that, try to add them up. It should be pretty much accurate with the pi and 6.4 squared. Yeah, it should be correct. So the answer turns out to be 124.45. Okay, moving on to the next question. It asks us for the perimeter of the shape. So things that I would do now is to find the 12.8. This is already done. There's only two more parts that I have to add together here. First is the curved part, and then the slanted part here. So slanted part is easier to calculate. It's basically 12.8 square plus 12.8 square. And then the last one is basically 1 over 2 times pi times r. And the r turns out to be, again, 6.4. 6.4 is a product of dividing the 12.8 by 2. So just 12.8 plus 12.8 square plus 12.8 square plus 0.5 times 2 times pi times 6.4. The answer turns out to be 51.0081, which is approximately 51.0 if you round it to 3 significant figures. That's it for question 7. Moving on to question 8, finding the end term. Apparently, every single time when we go forward, it's going to increase by 7. So this tells us that the common difference is basically 7. Okay, and it needs to be multiplied by n. Okay, and then when we go in a different direction where we minus 7 from it, you will get 4. And it's a positive 4, making this the 0 term. Okay, for those who's not familiar with the arithmetic sequence formula, it's basically common difference times n plus the 0th term. So please take note that the 0th term is a bit special because if you calculated it was negative, make sure you include it as negative. Next question, question 9, about exponentially. So this is a reminder that the formula that we're dealing right now is actually a compound formula. So 100% will minus by 25%, and it's going to repeat for 3 years straight. So 8,000, 75% to the power of 3, and you will get your answer as 3375. Okay, moving on to question 10. Amir invests 1,500 in an account. The account pays a compound interest of R% per year. At the end of the 8 years, the investment is 1,656.73. So the keyword here is value and also compound. So good news is that it's basically the same formula from the top, just that the percentage is now turned into unknown. No changes at all, and they gave us the exact subject here, which is this. Okay, so let's continue to make the rearrangement. Okay, so if you don't want the percentage there, you can also change it into 100 with the 81656.73 divided by 1005. So from here, when you wanted to make r the subject, what's going to happen now is a root of 8. And then when you adjust it accordingly, okay, you have to minus it by 1. And then this entire results here, you need to multiply it by 100 to get your final answer as 1.25% after all the rearrangement. Okay, so you can refer to this working here. Okay, I minus by 1 because I shifted this one to the other side. It would turn into negative. And then the division of 100, when you shift again, it's going to become multiply, making the answer 1.25%. Moving on to question 11. Okay, this right here is inequalities question. So right off the bat, I noticed two horizontal lines. One was located at y equals to 5. Okay, and also y equals to 1. You notice that I haven't changed it into inequalities because I have to check where's the r located at. So for the y equals to 5, it was down below it. So solid line means that it's an equal sign. For the other one where y equals to 1, it will be more than equals to. So we have two more lines to find. I will find the easiest one first here, which is this one where my x is clearly 6. Okay, due to the nature that it was dotted line and it was pointing towards my left hand side, this inequalities that I use is less than. And if you notice, the trick I've been doing now is that I use the arrow to remind myself where should my answer be. Okay, so now that we have the answer, I can remove this and we come down to the last part where I pay attention and notice another detail, which is basically my x is equivalent to y, because when x is 1, y is also 1. So this is a reminder that our y equals to x. Okay, and then due to them wanting the answer to be over here, which means that our y is actually lesser than x. Okay, because you have to ask yourself, if they wanted more, it should point towards the 1. But since they wanted lesser, it points towards the negative side, making the answer less than. And at the same time, it's a dotted line due to the inequalities. The line that was attached in the graph is dotted line. Okay, so that's pretty much it for question 11. Okay, question 12. We have equation 1 and equation 2. Students is very likely to be panicked here because from 1, you can go the extra mile to cancel off the denominator of 2 first. So multiply by 2, multiply by 2, multiply by 2. You get 3x plus 10y equals to 10. Okay, this is the first step that I did before finalizing on making x the subject, creating this, and divide the 3 accordingly. Okay, then from here, sub 3 into 2. So all the x is going to be multiplied with this. Okay, again, I have a weird obsession of getting rid of the denominator. So everything else is going to be multiplied by 3. Making a negative 9y. And when 46 times 3, it's 138. Okay, the 3 here is cancelled off, making the 40 minus 40y. So when you readjust everything together, you got 49y actually equals to 138 minus 40, which is 98, and 98 divided by 49, you will get negative 2 here. So do take note that -2 is not your final answer. You still need to sub it back to find the x value. 10 minus 10, -2 over 3. So you get a total of 10, I think. Okay. Because you will get this and then divided by 3, it's still 10. So that's how you find your answer. X is 10, Y is -2 for question 12. Going forward, we have a cyclic quadrilateral. They're being nice here. Okay, this is the first time that I see that they even write down the theorem for you already. So just a reminder to you here, which is the opposite side is what you're going to compare. Okay, they have a 4m plus 5m equals to 180. This is probably the most important piece of information, because with that, you'll be able to get your m as 20. So 120 divided by 9, it was indeed 20. And then you have your p plus 4m plus 38 equals 180. So when you make your p the subject, you will get this as your final answer. 180 minus 38 minus 4 and 20, you'll get a final result of 62 degrees. Okay, so that's it for question 13. Moving on to question 14, asking us the area of the shaded major sector. Finally, okay, it's been a while. They finally remember. Okay, you can see the frustration here because they never really mention specifically which part they are asking. It's even worse when they put like find the area of AOB or something like that. I never know that whether they are asking for the minor sector or the major sector. So you're supposed to readjust that strategy accordingly, having 360 minus 48 over 360 times pi times 9 squared. So when you key in everything correctly, this should be the answer. Okay, of 351 over 5 pi, which is approximately 220.54 or 220.5 as your final answer. Okay, so the next one is a recurring decimal, my favorite. Okay, so always write down the thing for 0.14646. Okay, you notice that the dots only appear on top of the 46, so the 46 is the one that repeated. So because there was 2 dots, I have to make 100x. So when I shift it by 100 times, it's gonna be 14.64646. Okay, students often get confused. How do you determine when to stop? So if you notice, I use 5 decimals at the top there. Okay, because of I wanted to let the 46 repeated at least once. So the same thing over here, the 46 did repeat it, and then because of you shifting this 0.14646 by 100 times, now the new dot was appeared here. So I need to let this 6 repeat so that I can continue with my calculation here. So 100x minus x equals to 14.64646 minus 0.14646. Okay, the reason why I arrange it like this is because if you make the effort to make it in such format, okay, the recurring decimals at the back would have cancelled off entirely, making it a 14.5 with 99x. Okay, so when this thing divided by 99, 14.5 divided by 99, you will get your answer as 29.198. This is a simplified version. And if you notice, it does fulfill what they want here, which is letting the 46 repeat. So you can look at the calculator side and then compare it here. Then you'll find why I am so sure that this is the answer right here. Question 16. Okay, they're asking us for the intersection of everything other than m. and everything other than n. So the blue one represents everything other than m. The red one represents everything other than n. So this right here is a reminder to you that they wanted whatever that did overlap is your final answer. So when I remove those that didn't overlap, you will notice that it is referring to everything outside of the circle. Okay, so moving on, we have everything other than A union with C. Everything other than A is all this, and then union with C, which means here. Currently, everything that I shaded is here, and then they want us to check which part that we shaded actually overlap with B. Overlap with B. B is in a yellow color. Okay, so with all this information, I can safe to say that my answer is actually just here, but the 16 is must be excluded. So after removing the 16, whatever numbers that was there is actually the answer, which I would take 3 plus 10 plus 4, making the result 17. Okay, so this right here at the middle is where our answers located at. So these three are the ones that they overlap and serve as the answer. Question 17, area of a triangle. So here they're testing you on the advanced version, which is half AB sine C. The AB here is where students always confuse themselves with. Okay, so whatever angles that you have here, you must have both of the sides in order to use this formula. So make sure admit students, okay, double check if your calculator is in the correct mode. If it's in radian, okay, please make sure to change it back, otherwise you will waste the marks here. So approximately 19.5 will be the area of this particular shape. Next, question 18. They ask us to draw a suitable line and solve it. Okay, so good news is everything has been given and they didn't make any changes here. They just want us to try our best to sketch this out, which is basically a 2x. So for students who don't know how to draw a straight line here, you can always follow this table where when your x is 0, y is 0, when x is 1, y is 2, when x is 2, I can't use 2 though, -1 perhaps, I get -2. So this right here and this right here is where the answers located at. Take a ruler, join them up, zoom in, and you should be able to find the answer. Okay, so time to zoom in and check. The intersection is here and here. Tracing it down, you will get a detailed reasoning, which is approximately -0.55. And the other side was quite at the corner, is about 0.9. So 0.9 and -0.55 is my answer here. Okay, so there goes question 18. If your answer has a very slight discrepancy, it should be fine. Okay, but you still have to take out your marking scheme to double check and see if your answers fall within the range or not. Okay, question 19, factorize. So first thing first, there's a 12. That's quite unusual. Okay, I'm going to try to divide them by 3 first, making it 4m squared. If I divide it by 3, okay, I'm correct. The reason why I have to do so is because they wanted you to know that 4 is actually 2 square, and then 25 is actually 5 square. Okay, with you making such changes, you ended up having two random brackets here with 2m minus 5t and 2m plus 5t. this was derived from the concept a squared minus b squared. So a lot of students will just forget to do this, and then once they factorize it out, they will just write 4m minus 5t. Okay, usually they will either forget about to change the 4 into 2, or they will forget to change the 25 into 5. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Next question. Okay, so I will rearrange it a little bit, maybe making it looking something like this, and then I have plus 5x plus 15. Okay, so the reason behind is because only when I arrange it like this, I can group them as 2 and 2. Okay, so the x is not the one that repeated, y was the one in the blue group, and then the 5 was the one that repeated. So with such action, I managed to create something that both sides share. Copy out whatever that repeated, copy down the balance, and that's your final answer for question 19b. Okay, so moving on to question 20, we have 8 sine x plus equals to 1 minus 6 first. It should result as negative 5, and when I make sine x the subject, it's going to be divided by 8. So this right here is actually your first step, making your trigonometry the subject first, and then the second step is to sketch it out with your quadrant concept where it involves ASTC. So T and C is the one that has sign negative. So clearly down here is where your answer is located at. Please draw it out so that you know that this is 0, 180, and 360. This one line indicate the first answer, and this one line indicate the second answer. So sine inverse negative 5 over 8, you will get a value of 38.7. Okay, so your first answer is actually 360 minus 38.7, making the results 321.3. And then to find your second answer, just reflect it to here. And then you have to take your 180 to plus. Okay, it's safe to say that a lot of students is not going to understand what I just explained. Okay, I need you guys. Okay, if I can remember when I'm editing this part, I remarked it down in my laptop, and then I would include the video link to this quadrant topic. If you don't, or I've forgotten somehow, okay, I apologize in advance, because that day there was someone that complained it in the YouTube comments when I browsed through. Okay, so feel free to look through the video library that I created, where I think it's from the topical explanation. Okay, this details on this particular part should be in there already. So search it up, you'll be able to get your answers from there. Okay, hey, I did a mistake. It's supposed to be plus. Okay, it's not a minus. Luckily, I checked. Okay, so the answer is actually 218.7 instead. So these are the two answers that you should attach as your final results. Okay, so moving on to question 21. Okay, this question here, please take note that C is the important angle. Okay, and then E is the connecting part. Normally, this is what I would do. And then directly underneath C, underneath E is actually the H. So this is basically the triangle that they want us to find. And this right here is the angle. Looking at this shape that I just sketched out, I only have the height, which means that very likely we need to find HC. Okay, and to get to HC, you only have one information that you need to manually calculate. That will be this, where you get the 9.1 and 4 to patch this information up. So HC is basically 4 square plus 9.1 square. Okay, making the answer somewhere around 9.94. And with this 9.94, you can now use the opposite and adjacent, which results in tangent theta equals to opposite and adjacent. Okay, so tangent inverse 6.5 and 9.94. The answer should be 31.1816, which is approximately 33.2 degrees as my final answer here for question 21. Last one, we have question 22 here. Wow, surprise. Okay, it's actually only 22 questions compared to the rest. Should be because the question at front is a little bit too tough, I guess, or tricky. Okay, not tough, but tricky. Okay, the tough paper is actually paper 22. Okay, back A and back B each contain red and blue counters only. So pick one and then pick one from B. Okay, understand? So Stephanie pick a red counter is 0.4. Stephen, okay. Probably that's Stephen and Jane. Okay, so 0.4. Wait, this is Stephen. And then we have Jane. From here, we have again red. It's another 0.25. No, 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 no. If they both pick it up, it was 0.25. So 0.4 times x equals to 0.25. I'm able to trace x by dividing with 0.4, making this 0.625. Okay, great. Okay. And then from here, you know that if it's blue, it will be 0.6 because 1 minus 0.4. And then the other condition will be 0.375 because 0.625 plus 0.375 is 1. Yes, correct. So for both of them clicking blue, it will be 0.6 times 0.375. That will result in 0.225 as your final answer. So it's quite tricky over here where they want you to figure out Jan's probability of getting red. Okay, that's why they gave you the overlapping info, okay, on both of them choosing red is 0.25. Okay, so question that I think is tough is actually from question 22. This is quite tough, and the rest is actually from the question 3b and question 4 is the scariest question of this paper. Okay, so if you're one of them that struggle on this question here, I hope you find this video helpful and you learn something from it. Okay, so one last shameless plug here. Okay, if you're interested in our tutoring service, please find out more information in the description. Okay, fill up the form.